Each week, we have an in-depth conversation with one of the key players in the legislative process. This week's guest is Representative Rob Roberson. Representative Roberson is a Republican from Starkville and is chair of the House Education Committee. Welcome to At Issue.
Thank you for having me. I really have been looking forward to this all weekend.
Well, we've been looking forward to asking you a number of questions, in particular about education. As chair of the House Education Committee, you were a leader in getting some major education legislation passed during the 2024 session last year. Remind our listeners, if you don't mind, about the key parts of that legislation and what you were most proud of getting accomplished.
Well, the funding formula we had been in place for a long time. And anytime you have something that's been in place that long, you're going to have some good things that are about it, and there are going to be some bad things about it. And we felt like in the House that, and I think this was kind of the general consensus in the Senate as well, that formula had kind of stagnated and most people didn't understand it.
You're talking about MAEP,
right?
The Mississippi Adequate Education Program.
And the good thing about it, when we started looking at changing that formula, one of the things that we did, we were trying to make certain that we didn't necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater. One of the things that we were able to do was we had a lot of superintendents come in, teachers come in, and we had a model bill that we started with, and they were able to tell us, hey, this isn't working. What you have here may have a problem. Now, we also heard conversations about the previous formula in terms of what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it. The thing that I wanted to make certain of was that the new formula that we came up with had weights in it, so that if you had a child that was a non-English learner or a child that had some special needs, a child that was very smart and had some additional things that needed to be done to help educate that child, that there were weights there that we were able to take each child individually. No child is alike. Not one of our children. I've got 4 kids of my own, and they're all different, and their needs are different. And so what we were approaching this new formula was presenting ourselves as how we think these children need to be supported and how the teachers need to be supported. I'm very proud of that legislation. I think it's something that can be built on. I'll also say this, in 25 years, I hope that there's a new group that make it even better. So there is no sense that something should ever stagnate. I think that it's good to move forward, and that was one of the pieces. My favorite part of this is the part that allows children with disabilities to get an additional funding, and that was kind of a harder dynamic in the previous one. In this one, we know that it's being done.
Well, last year's legislation opens up some different possibilities as well for school choice, which has been a major topic of conversation this year. Before we get into that, what are some of the other issues in education that the legislature is currently dealing with in this session?
We're looking at goodness knows, education is pretty vast every year, but we are looking at something that we're calling portability, which means it's a public school to public school transfer. It's not requiring the district that is accepting the child to they don't have to accept the child. In other words, if it's too many children in that school, they don't have to. However, the losing school would have no say-so in it. So if you've got a parent that has determined that a public school would be better in the next county, then and you can get that school to accept your child, we're going to do some things that make that. Or here's another good example. What if you work in that other county and it just makes it easier for you to be able to drop your kid off at school and then be there for different things? So there's a multitude of issues that could help with. A lot of the things that we are looking at consolidation. This is a buzzword for us this year. The consolidation piece, I make no bones about it. This is something that I think that we need to do, but it's something that we're going to have to do over the course of some time. I do believe that this is probably going to be a multi-year thought process. However, when you have over 140 some odd school districts in this state, and you only have 82 counties, a little bit of common sense here suggests that we would be able to have some savings. Now, that's not my primary objective is to save money. I'll be very honest with you. I'd rather that money be, if we do have some savings, be used in the future for facilities. I'd like to create something that we're able to set that money aside for and allow these school districts, especially the school districts that are in low-performing areas, to be able to, instead of trying to educate 400 or 500 kids, if we've consolidated and we have, 1,500 kids or however many that we're talking about, have something set up for these children to have better facilities. To me, it's a shame if you go into a school district and you see their buildings are falling apart. The reality of that is that you're not going to be able to provide economic development for those areas. You're not going to be able to provide jobs for those people in the future because there's a lack of putting money into your infrastructure. There's a lot of your businesses, first thing they look at is education. And what we want to do is set our school system and our counties and our state up to be able to grow their tax base, to be able to keep our young people here.
Let's talk in more detail about school choice. It's already been a big topic at the legislature this early in the process. Can you tell us in more detail about what forms school choice might take?
The school choice has got so many dynamics that are at play. School choice can mean for someone the portability, public to public. School choice for someone else might be being able to take public money and go to the academy of their choosing or their private school of their choosing. So you have everything in between. I know that right now we have an ESA program that helps a lot of your children with special needs be able to go to the school that they need. So that is a form of school choice. I would love to see, if we're going to look at school choice, it be a place in the sense that if you are living in a district that doesn't have a public school that you can go to under the portability side of it, potentially if you're in a DNF district, say, and let's say you're in you're low income. We put it in there where you can go to a private school taking that public money to help support you in that private school. Now, here's the reality. If you're in the Delta, there's not going to be very many places that you're going to be able to do that. So when we're looking at this, I'm looking at this from a very pragmatic standpoint of, is this going to have a solution? I think that may be part of a solution, but it's not necessarily where I think the entire solution is. And there are problems when you look at this in the sense of, if we do this, do we think we've fixed this?
Let's talk about some more of those potential problems with school choice, like schools recruiting star students and star athletes, but maybe not welcoming other students to transfer. How can you police it? How can you keep that from happening?
Well, what you're asking me is how do you make good people behave good? And unfortunately, cherry picking happens today. The truth of the matter is, if you're a school out there that wants to go after that star quarterback, I hate to say this, but it's happening now. So the reality that we have to do is not get too, I guess, involved in the fact that this stuff happens, but we're going to have to put some guardrails up. MDE is going to have to be involved in making certain these guardrails stay up, and we're going to have a conversation with our superintendents and our principals and our football coaches if that's where this is headed. But it's not just in your sports side of it, but it could be in your band. It could be in your academic side where you're cherry picking those particular things. My biggest concern is part of trying to make certain that the kids that need it the most, not the ones that don't need it the most, because the truth of the matter is, if you're if you're very good at sports or if you're very good academically, there are going to be some opportunities that present themselves to that family and that child in and of itself. I really want to target the kids that are very poor, that have the potential to reach new heights, but they just need to have that opportunity presented to them. And if we can move the momentum in the benefit of each of these children, that's where we should be. Even if we're only doing it a little bit at a time, eventually we're going to make a really big dent in what makes this work for the whole state.
Representative Rob Roberson, we thank you for joining us on At Issue.